Good morning, Ram Nation. We are back with another edition of DNVR Rams Live. As always, I am your host, Justin Michael. Got a fun show planned for you today. We're going to preview the secondary. A lot of experience in this group, but also an opportunity, especially at cornerback, for some new guys to break out. We're going to play a one-on-one interview with Henry Blackburn. I picked his brain on just kind of what it means to him to be a team captain. Not the first time he's been a captain, obviously, but he's kind of talked about giving his all for the program and kind of, the responsibility that he takes with that role. It's something that he doesn't take lightly. I picked his brain a little bit on if he ever considered moving on. I mean, especially given how heartbreaking the last game at Hawaii ended up being. I just wondered, was there any part of him that just wanted to walk away? He said, never a doubt. I was always going to come back, which is pretty unsurprising if you've gotten to know him. That dude just loves football. One of my favorite players in program history, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy this interview. Before we do preview the secondary, the State Pride uniforms dropped today. I dig them. It's kind of controversial. They updated the helmet slightly. It now says State on one side and then still has the Colorado logo flag on the other. I get that not everyone loves the mismatch. I will say the old ones were sharp. There was not necessarily a need to change them, but I think these are a little bit more unique. I can't remember a time with CSU, at least consistently in a rotation, having a helmet that had two different decals. There's actually a mountain logo on the back as well, so they added a little bit more detail there. I think they're cool. I think the jerseys definitely look cooler. I love how they added State in the middle. I think they're sharp and they pop. Especially under the lights. I mean, I think they're going to look good, and hopefully we can finally get those in the Ag Day uniforms in the new college football video game, and people will leave me alone. I think I've gotten a question about that every single show for the last month. If you missed it yesterday, Terrell Davis was announced as an ambassador or a Rambassador, if you will, for CSU Athletics. Really cool move. I mean, he had kind of unofficially been already doing this, but it's a good PR move for CSU to do it. This is a Broncos state, and obviously Terrell Davis was a part of one of the most successful periods in the franchise's history. His name means something. Him being associated with your athletic department, it means something locally, and he is a very highly successful businessman, so I love the opportunities, the avenues that it can open up from an NIL perspective, which is definitely something that he is going to be involved with. Not just with football, but for all of the athletic department or athletic teams in the department. And I just think it's really cool to have a Broncos legend like that associated with the program. And, it's a small thing, but it's a big win locally. It makes people happy. And I think that's one of the things that I would really compliment John Weber and Amy Parsons, really this whole administration for, is they understand that little moves like this go a long way within the community. TD has been around, like we've seen him courtside at a couple of games with Amy Parsons. It sounds like they're pretty good friends, and the relationship with her was ultimately what brought this together. But to bring in a guy like that, who's not even an alum, I mean, obviously he went to the University of Georgia. I saw a couple of SEC fans posting about how Georgia kind of dropped the ball here. Like, why wouldn't they have him involved? But one of the things that stood out to me in the video that CSU posted was Terrell Davis talking about how he considers himself a Coloradan at this point. He made his legacy, obviously, as a football player in Colorado, but he's continued to make Denver his home throughout, has multiple businesses here. I love this move. I mean, it's really not like that deep. I don't think we need to get that much more into it here, but I just think it's really cool. And again, it's a little thing, but to have a couple of big announcements like this, along with the new uniforms all in the week leading up to the season, I like how the department has handled this, and it's generated some excitement as we approach week one here. And, hopefully we're going to have a whole lot more fun throughout the football season. I do want to shout out CSU Soccer. They got their first win of the season, 3-0 on the road at Greeley, which was a nice bounce back after falling 3-2 against a really good Nebraska team out in Lincoln. 0-0 at halftime. So they really kind of put their foot on the throat late there. Nice road win. Get some momentum before they come back home. I'm interested to see kind of what Keeley Hagan can do with CSU Soccer this year. It's been a program on the rise, I feel like, and we've talked a lot just about how this is a soccer hub as a state. I mean, a lot of prep talent comes out. You see it in the Olympics. You see it in the professional circuits. I mean, there are a lot of gals from the state of Colorado that end up going on to be really good soccer players. And, you know, for all the complaints we have about the transfer portal, it's actually been really beneficial for CSU Soccer. A lot of Power 4 players that, you know, originally left the state are coming back home. And I think that's a good thing for CSU. I think that's an identity that they can establish, is kind of a nice landing spot for some of these players out of bigger programs when they're looking for an opportunity to shine or maybe just come back home. Before we get into the secondary, I do have a little bit of a news update. Terrell Grayson, he was a DB, primarily a safety, got some work in at nickel as well. He is no longer with the team. I'll be honest, I had not seen him at any point in camp, so I'm not sure exactly when he left. Didn't really stand out much in the spring. I'm not saying that to dog on the guy. I just don't think he was getting a ton of looks in the rotation is all I'm saying. It's not the most shocking situation. You wish him well. Hopefully he's able to find a landing spot. He was a transfer that had come in. Thought he was going to kind of make more of an impact than he ultimately did. But again, Terrell Grayson no longer with the program. We're going to preview the safeties and the starting cornerbacks, and we'll get into some young bucks here in a couple minutes. I'm also going to play that interview with Henry Blackburn. I do want to shout out our friends over at Coors Light. Coors Light Mountain Cold Refreshment, they encourage you to choose a chill mindset. I have had a lot of chores lately that have gone astray, a lot of frustrating home projects. I'm a bit of a hothead during those times. It's easy to start cursing up a storm, throwing things, just being generally unproductive. But I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be the guy that flips off the handle every time something goes wrong. So, I take my deep breaths, I go outside, I do what I got to do, put myself in a better state of mind, get in that chill mindset. And then once I feel like I'm in a good spot, maybe crack open an ice cold Coors Light. When the mountains turn blue, it's as cold as the Rockies. It's always a good time to choose chill and crack open a Coors Light. Make the most out of the times you choose to chill. Choose Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/DNVR. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. I also want to talk about the Circa Sportsbook. The app is available for download in Colorado. It's run by the same awesome people that run the Circa Resort and Casino out in Vegas. If you've listened to the show now, you know that it's the Mecca. It is definitely my favorite spot out in Sin City. There's no better place to watch sports. It's a sports fan's heaven. And what's awesome about Circa Sportsbook, you get a little bit of taste of that while you are home. They strive to give you some of the best splits around. Other places you might get more like -115, -120 odds. Circa says, nah, -110. And what's great is when you start winning, they're not going to limit you. So many places, the minute you start having success, boom, they're putting all these limits on you. Every player has the same opportunity to win the same at Circa, no matter how successful they are. There's great people behind it. They'll get back to you in a timely manner. Most places these days, it's chat bots. Download the app at circasports.com. Circa Sports bets can be made while physically located in the state of Colorado. Must be 21 or older. All rights reserved. Circa Sports Colorado encourages you to gamble responsibly. Gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER or visit problemgamblingcolorado.org. All right, we're going to play the interview with Henry Blackburn, talking about being a team captain, talking about the growth of the secondary, all kinds of stuff. Always appreciate his time. After that, we're going to preview the safeties, the starting corners, and then I'll talk about some of the guys that I expect to factor into the rotation as well. But this was Henry after Tuesday's practice. All right, man, just what did it mean to you to get named a team captain? And, kind of what does that mean to you from a responsibility standpoint?
It's a blessing and it's a real amazing thing to have my teammates vote me captain, and it's a lot of responsibility. Just knowing that I have a lot of guys looking up to me, a lot of guys who are looking to me for an example and kind of set the culture of the team. And I think it's a responsibility that I've been in this position before. I've been a captain for the past couple of years, and so I embrace it, and it's a real blessing to have my teammates think highly of me. And it's just something that I find it so amazing that my teammates think highly of me. And my part of it is I got to give my whole heart to this team and give everything I have and do everything I possibly can. And at the end of the day, whatever the results are, if we make sure that myself, the other captains, the other guys on the team give everything they have, give everything in their heart, in their soul, in their body, then we'll be happy with any result. And that's kind of the thing that I harp on most, and just being a servant leader, just serving people and helping them and doing things for people. I mean, that's what it's all about, just being serving and helping others and being the captain.
You know, when you look at that group, all you guys have played quite a bit of football. I mean, you have a lot of vets on this team. What has that done from an accountability standpoint? I mean, you hear all the time from coaches, like, you know, the leadership's got to be player driven. If it's not, we're not going to go anywhere. It seems like you guys are in that position kind of finally.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is my 5th season here, and so I've seen it develop. Like, when I got here, we didn't really have great leadership. We didn't have, you know, accountability as a team. And now just to see how far we've all came, like, we got a core group of guys that are still here and that have been here for a while, and just we've worked our butts off to change the culture and how we operate around here. Mm-hmm. And so it's really, I told the team the other day that I'm proud of everybody, like, just to see how far everybody's came and like how much guys care, how much effort guys put into it, how much extra stuff guys are doing, however on top of everything everybody is. And like, when somebody's not on top of something, like if somebody's not, like, it's obvious right away. Like, it's not like it used to be on this team where like guys could kind of get away with things, but now it's like everybody's on top of everything. We got a great group of seniors, great group of leaders, and it's just awesome to be able to play with these guys and be on a team with them. Because I mean, I give the credit to all the team. I mean, they're doing a great job of holding each other accountable, and just the cultures came a long way, and I'm really excited about it.
You've been really honest about just what it would mean to you to see this thing turned around, to have the success, and you guys came really close, obviously, to kind of getting over that hump last year. I'm curious though, just like as somebody who has so much passion for it, like that had to be really heartbreaking. Was there any point where you're like, you know, I think I'm going to be done, or was it always, no, I'm coming back because we have unfinished business?
Yeah, I mean, I never really thought I was done. I knew I'm gonna keep playing this game for as long as I possibly can. So I knew that I love CSU. You know, my family's close by, and you know, I love the people here. I love this school. I love my teammates. So that was really no question for me if I would come back or not. And yeah, like, it did sting last year. It stung every year that we haven't had the success we wanted. And, you know, it's just motivated us to be better and just to be that much more on top of things. And, like, the attention to detail we have now compared to what we had last year.
It's what Tori and Jack were saying, just that, like, it was one of those, it was kind of like a hard lesson, but maybe one that you benefit from in the long run, because it really taught some guys, like, and the difference between winning and losing can be one play.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we think we were 4 games where it's decided in the last minute of the game. So it's like, just to see how we're right there. Like, last year we were right there being a 9-win team. Like, this year we have all the potential in the world, and now we just have to put it together. And now it's just all about the details, and guys understand that, and it's really awesome to see everybody like just really buying in. And it's a great thing right now.
What are you guys seeing from the offense right now? I mean, how good do they look having to compete against them every day?
I'm not gonna lie, those guys are playing pretty good ball right now. They definitely got me a couple times in camp. It's okay though, because it's real competitive. Like, that's something that, you know, I haven't seen as much in the past, especially from our offense. Like, they are putting some things on tape that are impressive, and like, they got good concepts, good players, like real good receivers, the O-line's looking solid. I mean, it's awesome to see how far those guys came too. Like, they've got leadership. Braden's doing a good job stepping up. Jacob, Drew Moss, you know, obviously Tori, Armani, all these receivers they're a close-knit group. DG, it's just awesome to see. Like, see those guys and see them compete, and like we are going at it every day, so that's real fun. Like those guys, we're talking smack, doing all that, but like I love those guys and they know that. But we're making each other better, and it's awesome to see what those guys are doing on offense.
And just last thing I want to ask you for let you get out of here. I know it's hot as hell, but just what have you seen out of the secondary? I mean, a lot of you guys have played quite a few snaps together. Just what's the mindset kind of going into this year?
It's kind of a similar mindset. Like, obviously I played with Jack for a long time now, so me and him are like this. We know exactly what our mindset is going into games. Our whole secondary, we got a bunch of 5th year, 6th year dudes. Like, we're on top of things. Like, we're really smart in the back end, so when we communicate and stuff, we're thinking at a next level of football, which is really fun. It makes the game a lot more fun, because then we're going more into depth of things, and we're able to communicate like this, and it's really awesome to just have all these great guys like back there with me, and just to see how far we've like developed as a secondary is awesome, because like, you know, I think back then we were just playing, just running around, but now it's like we're thinking and we're executing at a really high level. So it's really fun with those guys, just being on the same page and flying around.
All right, great interview with Henry Blackburn. Always appreciate his time. He's really introspective. He's been great to me his entire career, and I'm always going to be a fan of him because of the passion that he plays with. I think he's one of the more underrated safeties in the conference. Obviously, Jack Howell gets a ton of credit, and he should. He's a tremendous player, great story as well. Henry led the team in picks last year with 3. He's a graduate student, 6 foot, 205 pounds, out of Boulder, Colorado. Went to Fairview High School. 4th on the team with 75 tackles this past season. Also had 3 picks, 2 fumble recoveries, and 2.5 sacks. Despite being the free safety, he's a guy who they get active down near the line of scrimmage. He's a great pass rusher coming off of the edge. A great comment also here in the Toyota chat from Addison. He pointed out from Henry's interview here, hadn't really thought of it until Henry just touched on it, but having this explosive of an offense should really help the defense get better every day. Yeah, I mean, they're not going to face a wide receiver unit in the league that's as explosive as what they have to face every single day. And, you know, it's kind of a cliche, but iron sharpens iron, all of that fun stuff. Henry, 4 picks, 15 pass breakups over the last 2 seasons. Him having a big year would be huge for this program. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of disingenuous clickbait artists that are trying to spark up drama and make the hit last year something bigger than it was. It drew a flag. It was a personal foul, and it deserved one. It was also a tone-setting type play and a really physical matchup between rivals. And the fact that like that whole thing blew up into such a massive scandal, like they tried to make it something so much bigger than it was ridiculous. Travis Hunter has been open multiple times about how he and Blackburn are fine. Like, he forgives it, understands his physical football. Everybody else, you know, in the Prime Brigade, they can't seem to get out of their feelings when it comes to that. Obviously, I called out RJ Young of Fox Sports on Twitter this morning. I thought his preview was just ridiculous. But I mean, he's the same dude that said it was CU Nebraska wasn't a rivalry until 2 years ago either, or a year ago. But there's just a lot of really disingenuous, annoying people. And because of it, unsurprisingly, I don't think Henry really likes to talk to most people in the media. I'm fortunate that I have a pretty good relationship with him, but I'm not surprised that he's, you know, at times pretty distrustful of a lot of people in this local sphere, because the way he was villainized for playing football is just insane to me. One of my favorite Rams of all time. And again, I'm stoked he's back, and I'd love to see him get some big moments in some big time games, and, you know, have some success against rivals, and you know, go to the postseason and all the things that these veterans have not been able to do. I think a lot of guys in their situation would have left, you know, Howell, Blackburn, even like Cam Baratow, you know, those guys very easily could have looked at the situation and been like, you know, do I want to use my last year of eligibility here? Do I want to gamble on CSU being able to finally get over the hump to break through that glass ceiling? And based on everything I've heard, like, none of these guys even considered it. So you love the loyalty that they showed. I hope that Ram fans give these guys a ton of love throughout the season. And I'm really excited to see what Henry Blackburn can do because he's really rangy back there in the secondary. He's a freight train coming downhill, but he's got great ball skills, really active hands, and obviously he's a physical guy. And I'm interested to see kind of what he does this year. Alongside him, you obviously have Jack Howell. He's 6 foot, 200 pounds, first team All Mountain West each of the last 2 seasons. Looking to become the first ever CSU defender to record 3 straight 100 tackle seasons, 286 total tackles in his career. If he meets his average, which is 111 tackles, at least since Freddie Banks took over the defense, he'd finish with 397, which would rank 4th most all time in program history. It'd be the 2nd most by a CSU defensive back behind just Ron Cortell, I believe, who had 402. 5 picks, 15 pass breakups in his career. Plays down near the box much more often than he used to. That was kind of one change that we saw with Freddie Banks coming in, moved him more into that strong safety type role. I think it suits him well. Obviously, averaging 111 tackles over the last 2 seasons, he's a guy that makes a big impact in defending the run. He's a guy that you can trust in coverage. But I really like that they've kind of figured out that tandem there. And I think Blackburn and Howell, now going into basically their 4th year playing together, it's really going to be beneficial, just the continuity that they have together. And you're going to see that chemistry be a big benefit. And it's going to need to be, because obviously the defense has got to be better. But the thing that I appreciate when talking to Henry Blackburn or Jack Howell or any of these guys about it, there weren't a lot of excuses being made. It seems like a lot of guys had to basically kind of take a good long look in the mirror last year and really reflect on, what caused them to not be able to live up to the lofty preseason expectations that frankly they set themselves. I mean, Freddie Banks came out and said that they were going to be the best defense in the league. That was far from the case. They had moments, I thought they played really well in moments in conference play. They also had moments where they really struggled. And this is the secondary as a whole. Not just those 2 guys. I mean, the defense as a whole, they've got to be better with leads this year. They've got to create more turnovers. But I think Henry and Jack, having the type of seasons that they're capable of, that's going to play a big part in CSU essentially, achieving what I think they're capable of. And I think the offense being as good as they are and being able to run the ball with more consistency and hopefully, having a little bit more ball control, that's going to benefit the defense as well. Moving over to the starting corners, this is obviously unofficial, but this is my projection based on what we've seen throughout fall camp. I think Dom Jones is going to be cornerback 1. I would have said Isaiah Sissima after the spring, but Dom, he's looked good. They like his length and physicality out wide. 6'3", 195 pounds. He's a converted safety, which is important to remember. I mean, last year was his first year playing the position. Finished 2nd on the team with a pair of picks. He's a guy that is aggressive. So I think inherently there are going to be some times he gets beat over the top. He's also going to go and make some plays that maybe some more cautious players were not able to do. He definitely has more size and length than most corners in this league. So if he could have a big year, I think that would be huge for the Rams. I do think it'll be Isaiah Sissima opposite of him. Much smaller, 5'11", 170 pounds, but he's scrappy. He had a really good spring. He's continued to make plays throughout camp. He's just a very experienced player. He started at Wake Forest, played in 16 games over his first 2 seasons there. Then joined Jay Norvell in Reno. Played in, I think, 26 games in Nevada. He had 26 games, made 15 starts. He had 39 tackles, 11 pass breakups, and 3 interceptions with the Wolfpack. I like the duo they have out there. The depth in the secondary is, I think it's a question mark, is fair to say. There's just a lot of young, unproven guys. You're going to be pretty reliant on multiple transfers. I mean, Dom Jones, he obviously transfers in last year. Isaiah comes over in the spring. You also bring over Elias Larry, and we'll kind of talk about him in a little bit here. I think starting at nickel, it's going to be Dom Morris. I wondered if it would be Aiden Hector, but based on how all the reps have gone throughout fall camp, it's looking like Dom. He started the majority of the back end of the season. I mean, Aiden was hurt last year. I still think he's going to be a factor in the rotation for sure. 5'9", 175 pounds, started at Furman. He had 51 total tackles last year, 30 solo. So for being a small guy, you love that both him and Asisima are scrappy. They're not afraid to get up in the mix to make tackles in the run game. Last year, like I said, 30 solo. He had 10 tackles, I think, against Hawaii in that season finale. Also forced a fumble. Really, really athletic dude, too. He was an all-district hurdler in high school. You love the versatile profile of a couple of these guys. And again, he has shown some playmaking ability, and him having a productive year in the slot would be better. I mean, the Rams, they're going to play a lot of man coverage. At least that's the hope. They want to be able to get after the quarterback. They don't have an edge rusher quite as dominant as Mo Kamara. You're hoping for a big year from Newer Gatkuth, and he obviously flashed. I actually have not got to see him practice in camp yet because he's been in a boot, so hopefully they're able to get him back before Texas. I do wonder if it gets too close to the game, they maybe just hold him out and try and have him essentially make his first appearance in that week for Greeley, and then you have him ready for CU. We'll see what happens there. You do have some other guys you like, and we'll get into that when I preview about defensive line this weekend. We're going to talk about the rest of the rotation here in just a second. Do want to shout out our partners over at Toyota. Toyota is the official vehicle of DNVR, also a proud partner of CSU Athletics. Trucks have always been a part of Toyota's DNA. For generations, they built durable legends destined for greatness and perfect for Colorado. They've got something for everyone, whether you're off-roading, whether you're trying to haul the weight of the world. If you want a truck, if you want an SUV, you want to go just a compact car, Toyota's got something for you. Check out the 2024 Tacoma or the 2024 Land Cruiser. Both are sweet. 17 models with available all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive like the Epic 4Runner. They also offer more low and zero-emission vehicles combined than any other automaker to give customers numerous choices to reduce their carbon footprint. 16 hybrid vehicles to choose from, like the Tundra iForce Max hybrid truck. Not to be outdone, Toyota SUVs take command on the road and on the trail, so you can explore the road less traveled without sacrificing smooth city rides in SUVs like the RAV4 and Grand Highlander. Toyota is a proud partner of CSU Athletics and the official vehicle of DNVR. I also want to talk to you guys about Game Time. Nobody makes it easier to buy tickets last minute than Game Time. They've got some awesome deals right now. If you go on and check it out, great deals on Ag Day tickets. You can get Air Force tickets. I mean, anywhere in the state, they have got great deals. What's awesome about Game Time is they incentivize you to live life to the fullest. You don't have to plan things weeks, months in advance. You can just decide, you want to know what? I feel like going to a ball game today. Maybe I feel like checking the Rockies out. Maybe I feel like going to a CSU game. Boom, you get on there. Unlike other places, you've got access to all kinds of great deals. They've got flash deals. They've got zone deals. They've got the best price guarantee. Because if you happen to find tickets in the same section, same row for less, they're going to credit you up to 110% of the difference. You can get a panoramic view of your seat before you buy, so you know what you're getting into. Sometimes the seat might be a little bit obstructed. You can have that not be a worry for you. They just give you peace of mind when it comes to buying tickets. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, use code DNVR for $20 off your first purchase. Terms to apply. Again, create an account, redeem that code DNVR for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. All right. I that read makes me laugh every time, but Game Time really is awesome. Great deals. And if you're like me, you're not the biggest planner in the world. It's a nice way to be able to have a fun, spontaneous evening. I want to talk about some of the other guys that are going to factor into the rotation, because while I do think the starters, and again, we can go through that one more time, Dom Morris at nickel, Dom Jones at cornerback 1, Isaiah Sissima opposite of him, and then, of course, we've got Henry and Jack patrolling the back end at safeties. Jalen Gardner, the sophomore safety, 6'1", 205's got good size. He played in all 12 games as a freshman, so we've already kind of seen him a little bit. I think they're going to find ways to get him on the field, whether it be in the slot. Maybe they just find some opportunities to have him drop back in coverage and send Blackburn down low and some like dime type looks. I mean, I think there are some ways you can get creative just to take advantage of his athleticism. He had a high jump of 6'6" in high school. He was also a captain in 3 sports. Really, really impressive background. Came from the Texas Military Institute. Everything that we have heard about Jalen Gardner since the first day that he got on campus, very similarly to like what we're hearing about freshman receiver Jordan Ross right now. is not only is this guy the real deal physically, but he's got all the right habits. He's really studious. He's trying to absorb everything that he can from those older players. And he's a guy that just really tends to flash when he's out there. So I think we're going to see him out 21 total tackles. He could start right now if they just didn't happen to be incredibly deep at safety. I mean, you've got a combined, 8 years of experience between Blackburn and Howell. It's just kind of unfortunate timing, but I'm really glad that he stuck around. And again, I think he's one of those guys that's so athletic. You have to find ways to get him in the mix, and you don't want him to get discouraged because, I mean, he's doing all the right things. He's making plays. He's ready. There's just a lot of vets on the team. The nice thing about Freddie Banks is he rotates a lot. He doesn't want people playing 80, 90 snaps a game. It's tough to be your best that consistently, especially, like in those early season games. Texas, it's going to be hot as hell. Even that Ag Day game, which I think is like a 5 p.m. kickoff, still going to be pretty hot at that point in time. Elias Larry is a guy who I could very realistically see starting as well if Dom Jones or Asisima get dinged up, or, I mean, if he just impresses. He's gotten some run with the ones as well. 6 foot, 190 pounds, transferred over from Navy, 40 total tackles, 2 interceptions over the last 3 years. Listed as a grad student, but I believe he would have 2 years left because of COVID, but that the math might not be mathing on that. I need to double check that. His freshman year might have been 2021. He had a good spring. I think you feel pretty good about Dom Jones, Asisima, and Larry. Like, I don't want to sell you guys false hope. I don't think this is going to be the no-fly zone. It's been a really long time since CSU has had like a dominant secondary. That said, they have so much experience between these transfer corners and between, Howell and Blackburn that I certainly think that they're capable of being competent. And really what we just needed to see, getting tongue-tied there, really just what we need to see is this team play with a little bit more consistency. They've got to be better in man coverage situations. There were just far too many times where they were getting burned because guys were out of position or being a little bit too aggressive. I mean, again, there were moments, but there were just far too many moments like Utah State where it seemed like guys were running, without anybody in the frame. And then all of a sudden it's a 40-yard touchdown. But I do like the experience that they have in the secondary. One guy that's probably the biggest wild card is Aiden Hector. I mean, one of the biggest playmakers on the team in 2022 was a huge part of those wins over Nevada and Hawaii, had defensive touchdowns in both. 35 tackles in basically 5 games. I think he had back-to-back double-digit tackle games to start the season, but he just couldn't stay healthy, unfortunately. I'm hoping that Dom Morris essentially stole his position because he played well, and they're going to find ways for Hector to get into the mix. He's saying all the right things. It doesn't seem like he's discontented at the moment. Like, it kind of seems like he's comfortable, at least based on like the interviews and stuff. So we'll see kind of what happens there. But he was a 4-star recruit coming out of high school. He's got a physical frame. I mean, he's a guy that, like, when he's on, he seems to just be in the right place. Like, he seems to have a knack for the ball. And then for whatever reason, when it goes to him, like the field just opens up and it ends up being a pick six. We just need to see more consistency from him. And I know that he's been dinged up for much of the last year and a half. Him being healthy and making plays the way that he did in 2022 would be such a massive win for the Rams. I have high hopes for him, but it's been a while since we've kind of seen him at that full potential. One of the young guys I'm really intrigued by is Dylan Phelps, redshirt freshman. He had an interception in the spring game. He's at a really nice fall camp. He's got great length, listed at 6'3", 190, which is awesome for a Mountain West corner. He really moves well. He's physical. He doesn't shy away from the moment. He's one of the things that I like about a young corner is how do they respond when they get beat? Because there's a lot of good receivers on this team. Like, you're going to get beat in coverage by Torrey Horton, by Armani Winfield, Donovan Ollie. These guys are really good players. And the thing that I've liked about Phelps is he's continued to respond. I think he's going to be in the mix. Like, again, especially as the season goes on, I expect him to kind of play his way into more and more reps. I think early on, you really lean on those vets. But I think there's going to be opportunities for guys like Dylan Phelps to get on the field. They brought over Chris Jackson from San Diego Mesa College, 6 foot, 155 pounds. He had kind of a tough day in the second scrimmage, not going to lie, but I don't want to judge him too harshly based on, a small sample size. And in his defense, a lot of guys give up big plays to Torrey Horton and, getting mossed by Mason Muau in the red zone. That's not the end of the world. The dude is massive, 6'6", like 230. He was in a pretty tough spot from trying to match up with that size. Some of the young bucks, obviously, that are going to be kind of interesting to follow. Dagan Myers was the top-rated recruit in this past signing class, the top-rated recruit in the entire state of Colorado, which is funny considering he wasn't even a ranked prospect until more than halfway through his senior season. It makes me honestly pretty skeptical of the entire process. I think somebody eventually realized, oh, this is Greg Myers' kid, isn't it? And then, that kind of changed things. He is a great athlete, though, and I think the hope is, regardless of whether he pans out in the secondary or not, I think he can be a really dynamic return man, both as a punt returner and as a kickoff guy. I mean, state champion sprinter, like he just runs really well. If he pans out as safety, awesome. Kind of raw, I think, as a DB is the general assessment of him at the moment. But you love a guy with that type of athleticism, the pedigree, and I mean, obviously, anytime you can get guys with CSU ties in your program, you got to do it. And I'm hoping that they're able to land Eric Olson in the 2025 cycle. Really, really athletic wide receiver out of San Diego. Chance Harrison, another freshman to keep your eye on. I think all these freshmen are pretty intriguing. Out of California, AJ Noland out of Oregon. Chauncey Davis, another California kid. We got Dante Scott, redshirt sophomore. Maybe we see him play his way into the mix as well alongside Dylan Phelps. And then Jet Vincent, maybe you see him a little bit on special teams in the back end. When you look at his high school stats, it was absurd, like a couple hundred tackles and like 40 interceptions or something like that. His brother Trey also on the team as a walk-on. That's the main rotation I expect from the secondary. We'll see if anybody else kind of plays their way into the mix there. They're definitely going to be dependent on those veteran safeties, on the transfer corners that they brought over. And I think if you could get a big year out of Aiden Hector and Dylan Phelps pops like as a young guy, because you're going to lose a lot of these vets next year. And then it's really going to be kind of a unique spot. I imagine they'll have to go portal as well to kind of fill some of the gaps there. If you could get a big year out of Aiden Hector, you could get a big year out of Dylan Phelps or Chris Jackson or something like that, along with, just good, consistent years from your starters. Like if you can just get 4 guys that you can relatively trust, I think the pass rush is going to be able to get home enough that, they're not going to have to be back there forever. They don't have a guy anywhere on defense that is as dominant or as good as Mo Camara. I do think the depth top to bottom, at least in the defensive line, is probably better. And I don't hate the depth in the secondary. It's just unproven. And that's kind of a scary spot at times, but also that can lead to young guys like Dylan Phelps getting an opportunity and really breaking out. And then all of a sudden you've got, a redshirt freshman who gains a ton of valuable experience, and he's your corner one next year. The key is hanging on to these guys, because obviously, you lose TJ Crandall after last year, and he kind of popped a little bit down the stretch. Had some moments where he definitely looked like a freshman, but man, did he flash like in some of those small spurts. I was really disappointed to see him leave. Out of everybody that they lost, that was probably the one that I thought was the most disappointing. Him or LB. I mean, Lewis Brown was really good, and I think he had a chance to have like a huge year. But then again, you bring in Armani Winfield, and then it doesn't hurt that bad anymore. So I'm excited for this season. I cannot wait for week 1. I'll have a couple of audio-only podcasts this weekend, so make sure you keep your eyes on the podcast feed, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, wherever you listen to your pods. You can just go to the DNVR site as well. I appreciate everybody in the Toyota chat. It was a lively day, which was a lot of fun. You guys have been really supporting the content, which has been awesome. If you missed my written pieces this week, I had 5 offensive and 5 defensive breakout candidates. Going to have some more pieces coming out here in the next couple of days. Always proud to be. Much love to all of you. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.